Carlos Spencer, the human glitch. If you ever wondered what rugby would look like if it was controlled by an alien with a sense of humour, the answer is Carlos Spencer. This bloke didn't play rugby, he played jazz. He'd run the backline like it was a street performance. No structure, no script, just vibes. Behind the back passes, chip kicks inside his own 22, reverse flicks that made coaches scream. It was part genius, part madness. Every game, you could almost see his teammates thinking, please Carlos, not here. Half the fun of watching Spencer wasn't knowing what he'd do, but when he'd do it, usually at the most dangerous possible time. He'd stand deep, grin like he'd just thought of a prank, and then pull off something that left the crowd howling. Once in a Super 12 match, he faked a pass so hard the defender spun around trying to find the ball. Spencer still had it, smirking, and jogged in for the try. It was one of those moments where half the crowd laughed and the other half just went quiet in disbelief. Even now, that clip circulates as pure rugby comedy gold. He didn't just break the line, he broke logic. He'd take the most suicidal option on the field and somehow turn it into art. His passes weren't random, they were premeditated chaos, disguised as improvisation. He'd throw a flick offload that you'd swear it was luck, that you could see his support runner already reacting before the ball left his hand. That's not madness, that's a sixth sense. And here's the thing, it wasn't just flash. Behind the chaos was a rugby brain that moved at warp speed. He saw geometry other players couldn't. He felt gaps instead of calculating them. While most fly halves thought 2 phases ahead, Spencer was already designing the try. If normal fly halves are chess players, Carlos was painting with fire. Sometimes it blew up, sometimes it became art. But no matter what happened, you couldn't look away. Fans called him King Carlos. His coaches probably just called him Headache. But every time he played, rugby stopped being predictable and started being fun again. David Campese, the goose-stepping rebel. If Spencer was jazz, David Campese was performance art. The Aussie winger's entire philosophy was structure kills brilliance. He didn't just believe that, he lived it. Coaches would hand him detailed game plans, diagrams, tactics. Campo would glance at them, shrug, and then go do whatever popped into his head. He literally invented the goose step, that weird little hop that froze defenders long enough for him to breeze past. It looked ridiculous, almost comical at first, until he realised it actually worked. One moment of hesitation and he was gone. It became his signature, a move so odd that kids on suburban fields were copying it within weeks. Every coach tried to get him to play within a system. Campo said, nah. Systems kill brilliance. He treated rugby like art, not war. He'd pick up the ball, glance around like a bored artist looking for a new canvas, and then paint chaos. During one World Cup, he ignored half the team's strategy, ran when he should have kicked when he should have passed, and was still named player of the tournament. His teammates joked that he was playing in a completely different dimension, and honestly, they weren't wrong. He'd run backwards, sideways, sometimes straight into defenders, all just to prove he could. That's not indecision, that's curiosity. Campo didn't want the safe option, he wanted the funny one, the impossible one. There's a moment seared into rugby history. Campese fielding a kick deep in his own half, taunting the chase line, and somehow creating a try from what should have been certain disaster. It summed him up perfectly. Brave, foolish, and brilliant in equal measure. Teammates would beg him to pass. He'd shrug and say, I don't pass, mate. I create. And the ridiculous part? He was right. He finished his career with 64 test tries and changed how wingers thought forever. Campo wasn't normal, he was performance art. Rugby purists called him reckless. Everyone else called him genius. And if you ever wonder why rugby became a sport where flair is celebrated, not punished, it's because guys like Campese were weird enough to ignore the rulebook and trust their instincts. Quade Cooper, the chaos merchant. If you'd ever watched Quade Cooper and thought, what on earth is he doing? Join the club. He played like rugby was an improv show. There were no rehearsed lines, no predictable cues, just a man with the reflexes of a cat and the attention span of a firework. 1 minute, he's dancing through 3 defenders with feet faster than Wi-Fi. The next, he's throwing a pass that lands in the stands. He could turn a guaranteed try into a heart attack and vice versa. He made highlight reels and blooper tapes in the same match. When Quade was on, the world stopped. You held your breath because you didn't know whether to expect a miracle or a meltdown. But that unpredictability, that was the draw. He made rugby dangerous in the most entertaining way possible. At his best, he was electric. At his worst, he was a walking heart attack for every Australian fan. 1 second brilliance, the next, disaster. He never played it safe, ever. There was a moment against the All Blacks where he tried to sidestep Richie McCaw. You don't sidestep Richie McCaw. That's like trying to mug Batman. It ended predictably with McCaw flattening him. But Quade got up smirking, because chaos was the point. He didn't care about odds or logic. He cared about the thrill of making something impossible happen. The man once said he doesn't plan anything, he just sees opportunities. Translation, even he didn't know what was coming next. But that's what made him so fascinating. He trusted his instincts in moments most players wouldn't even attempt to think. He was the rugby version of a high wire act with no safety net. Fans adored him for it. Coaches aged 10 years watching him. Every pass, every kick, every sidestep carried a sense of danger. But when it clicked, it was glorious. He'd fake a kick, pop a no-look pass, and suddenly the Wallabies were under the posts. Even opponents admitted that when Quade was on, you couldn't defend him. You could only hope to survive the next 30 seconds. He was rugby's beautiful gamble. Every play a coin flip between genius and disaster. And even when it failed, you couldn't look away, because that was Quade's gift. He made unpredictability feel like art. A reminder that rugby's not just about structure and stats, it's about chaos, flair, and the guts to try something insane just because it might work. Joe Marler, the talking prop. Every front rower is supposed to be quiet, serious, and mildly terrifying. Joe Marler missed Fat Mano and probably shredded it for fun. Here's a man who'll dye his hair pink 1 week, shave it the next, and start a full-blown conversation in the middle of a scrum. You can't teach that kind of personality. You just try to survive it. He's the prop who brings chaos to the set piece and comedy to the pitch. There's actual footage of him leaning on an opponent mid-scrum and asking, "How's the family?" That's not mind games, that's stand-up theatre disguised as front row warfare. He's the only player who can turn a collapsed scrum into a live chat show. He doesn't just talk tactics, he talks nonsense. Jokes, random questions, little digs to make you laugh when you should be locking in. Everyone else is focusing on binding and body angles, and he's over there trying to make the hooker lose it. But beneath all the chaos is pure rugby mastery. Marler isn't a clown, he's a craftsman. Every bind, shove and release is deliberate. He knows how to fold a tight head, tilt a scrum, and get under a referee's skin, all while making it look like a comedy act. He uses humour as pressure. He'll joke, distract, disarm, and when you're giggling, he drives you backward 5 metres. It's psychological warfare wrapped in sarcasm. Off the field, he's equally unpredictable. He's talked openly about his mental health, the pressure of the sport, and how being weird keeps him sane. That honestly turned him from just another prop into one of rugby's most human characters. In a sport obsessed with control, Joe Marler thrives in chaos, and somehow he's made it his trademark. Because while everyone else grinds through scrums, Joe's out there proving that even at the darkest corner of the game, you can still have a laugh and win. Piri Weepu, the cigarette samurai. Every rugby team has its gym freaks and nutritionists. New Zealand had Piri Weepu, a scrum half powered by instinct, not kale smoothies. While most players were counting protein shakes and timing recovery cycles, Piri was counting the moments that actually mattered. He had that old school aura, the kind of bloke who looked like he could win a game, then win a barbecue after it. During the 2011 World Cup, pictures surfaced of him smoking. The public freaked out. How could a professional athlete light up during the tournament? In a world obsessed with discipline and diets, this was headline gold. Fans thought he'd lost it. Analysts questioned his fitness. Then he went out and played like a conductor running an orchestra. He didn't need to sprint or shout, he just controlled everything. The game bent to his rhythm. He'd take 2 steps slower than anyone expected, and in that heartbeat, he'd already reshaped the defence. Every pass felt like it came from someone who could see the future. His tempo slowed games down to a crawl, until suddenly he'd strike, and when he did, it was like flipping a switch. One quick pass, one perfect kick, and the chaos was his to command. His pass timing, his calmness under pressure, it was hypnotic. You could almost feel the entire crowd breathing with him. When the All Blacks lost Dan Carter to injury, everyone panicked. Everyone except Piri. He took control, guided the team, and kicked them into the final. He didn't flinch once. The man literally smoked through a World Cup and still ended as a national hero. It became rugby folklore, proof that cool heads and old souls still had a place in the modern game. He was built like a prop, moved like a tank, and thought like a chess grandmaster. And the secret? He made weird look cool. He didn't need to fit the mould to dominate it. Piri played the game on his own terms, slow, deliberate, and deadly effective. The kind of player who made you rethink what professional really meant. Nick Cummings, the Honey Badger Nick Cummings, might be the weirdest legend of them all. Australian winger, moustache that deserved its own cap, and the wildest vocabulary ever heard in sports. When asked about a tough loss, he said, "Mate, I'm sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage." When he scored a try, happier than a dog with two tails. When asked about his diet, full cream milk because you don't put water in fuel. Those words scripted. That was just how the man spoke. Every sentence an Aussie proverb waiting to happen. He'd sprint down the wing like he was powered by chaos, bash through defenders, then drop another line that'd break the internet. He had this perfect mix of power and madness, like a storm that somehow knew how to sidestep. His energy was infectious. Teammates said you could hear him laughing mid-game, even when he was the one getting tackled. He once described his playing style as smack it or crack it, and that's exactly what he did. Either explode through someone or explode himself trying. There was no half speed, Honey Badger. And yet, behind the humour was heart. He left international rugby at his peak to care for his sick family. No press conference drama, no goodbye tour, he just did what needed doing. It showed that under all the chaos and colour, there was integrity. That's why people loved him. Because the Honey Badger wasn't an act. He was just unapologetically himself. One of those rare players whose personality made the game bigger than sport. He could make you laugh, make you cheer, and make you proud, all in one interview. Weird? Definitely. But he made rugby fun again. He reminded everyone that the game's not just about points and precision, it's about joy, absurdity, and characters who make it unforgettable. Nick Cummings was proof that sometimes being your weirdest self is the bravest thing you can do. Finn Russell, the scientist of madness. Finn Russell is rugby's version of controlled chaos. He's a fly half who doesn't follow patterns, he creates them on the fly. You can tell he's different from the first touch. He gets the ball, grins like he's about to misbehave, and throws something that makes coaches reach for blood pressure tablets. You can practically hear the collective, "No, no, no, yes!" from the stands. He'll fling a 25-metre skip pass across traffic, or chip from his own try line like he's allergic to the safe option. Most players do that once and get dropped. Finn does it every week and gets called a visionary. You'd swear he's trolling the defence, and half the time, his own coaches. There's always a camera shot of them upstairs, eyes wide, mumbling prayers, while Finn's down there looking like he's just pulled off a magic trick. His teammates admit they sometimes have no clue what he's about to do. They just shrug and follow his lead, because 9 times out of 10 it works. The other time? Well, at least it's entertaining. He once said he plays what's in front of him. That's Finn speak for, I'll do whatever feels fun right now. He's got the swagger of a man who's never seen a playbook and never plans to. Every game feels like he's testing a theory. How close can I get to disaster before it becomes genius? And somehow, he keeps nailing it. He plays with that grin, like he knows rugby's supposed to be fun, not just functional. Scotland's flair comes straight from him. Finn turned chaos into confidence, and made being weird look like the smartest move on the field. Faf de Klerk, The Chaos Goblin. Faf de Klerk looks like a cartoon character drawn by caffeine. 5'7", wild blonde hair, always shouting, always buzzing. You can spot him from space, a blur of blonde fury in green and gold, yelling at anyone within 10 metres. He's the scrum half who acts like he's got 3 lungs and a personal vendetta against silence. He never stops moving, never stops talking, and somehow still has time to box kick like it's an Olympic event. He'll tackle a lock, shout at a ref, box kick from his own try line, and then repeat, all before the first water break. It's like he's speed running rugby. One match, he charged down a kick with his face. Didn't flinch, just smiled and kept going. You can't teach that. That's not instinct. That's caffeine and chaos in perfect harmony. He hits harder than physics says he should. Once he flattened a prop twice his size and then helped the man up with a grid like, no hard feelings, mate. It's not that he ignores the laws of physics, it's that they politely step aside for him. During the 2019 World Cup, he became a cult hero, sprinting, barking orders, and wearing South Africa flag Speedos during the celebrations. The photo went viral because of course it did. Nobody else could pull that off and still look like a national hero. He's not just energy, he's lightning, with a sense of humour. Faf doesn't fit the mould, he breaks it. He's living proof that being weird, small and fearless can carry a team to glory. He's part heart, part havoc, and 100% unforgettable. If rugby ever builds a statue for chaos, it'll have Faf's hair and grin. Cheslin Kolbe, the physics error. And then there's Cheslin Kolbe, the man who makes science look wrong. 5'7", 60-something kilos, yet somehow stronger than your nightmares. He doesn't sidestep, he teleports. Defenders dive where he was, not where he is. Owen Farrell tried to tackle him in the 2019 World Cup final. Kolbe spun, twisted, and Farrell was left trying to hug a ghost. Analysts still can't figure out how he moves like that. He changes direction without losing speed. He's basically a highlight reel in fast forward. Every time someone says he's too small, he goes out and humiliates another forward. You can't measure heart, and Kolbe's got enough for an entire squad. He turned every "you're not big enough" into "how the hell did he do that?" He's weird in the best way. Proof that being different doesn't just work, it wins World Cups. If you enjoyed this, there's plenty more rugby videos on the way. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. It helps me keep making more of these for you. Thanks for watching.